It's well established that traditional Chinese medicine is an effective means of managing stress. This can be either utilizing acupuncture to treat tense muscles or calm minds, or utilizing Chinese herbal formulas in order to help one sleep. However, many don't understand the depth with which traditional Chinese medicine can go in whenever you're analyzing or understanding emotions and how these impact the body. Traditional Chinese medicine understands disease as not so much as a cause and effect related issue, but more an interaction related issue. So how a change can ripple through a system. In the case of mind-body connections, it's a really interesting give and take that we see from an emotion and physical health. In a healthy mind and body, emotions are allowed to ebb and flow, much like the weather, and flow in a dynamic balance, allowing them to express in appropriate scenarios, such as feeling sadness at a funeral or feeling elation at a gift, and remain only as long as needed and leave no physical impacts. However, in situations of constant emotional stress, such as high work stress or an inappropriate expression of stress, such as bottling an emotion in or losing control in a scenario, that's when we can start to see the emotions beginning to impact the body. These impacts can develop into overall patterns that begin to affect the mind and body in understood ways. The patterns can appear as physical pathologies in the event of a stressor, such as a stomachache in a high stress area or feeling exhausted after a hard cry. This connection goes both ways, as a physical body issue or a physical health related issue can impact the emotional body. And a great example would be how you feel incredibly weepy or sad in the events of a cold or the sniffles or something along those lines. So to gain a basic understanding of the emotions impact, TCM pioneers went through the basic emotions, or the primary colors of emotions, if you will, and observed their actions within the body. They reached the following conclusion. Anger tends to rise. Worry knots and clumps. Elation tends to slow and scatter. Sorrow and grief tend to weaken the body. Fear descends and fright scatters. Even in healthy emotions, we have all experienced some form of these emotions and often have a feeling that matches these descriptions. A good example would be feeling red-faced with anger, right? As everything rises to the head. Or another one would be being tense with worry, or completely blanking in a situation of fright or fear, or completely exhausted in the event of a sorrowful experience. These emotions are also representative of specific organs, lending more understanding to how they fit into the established interconnections of the body. So here we'll give an example of a 5-element picture. Within the 5 elements, we can see that with fire, we have elation. With earth, we have worry. With metal, we have sorrow. With water, we have fear. And with wood, we have anger. And each one of these has a very intimate connection with the emotions around it. These connections can help practitioners understand each emotion's impact, direct and indirect, on organ systems, such as we were talking about, worry under the earth component here. Earth also a primary area for digestion. So high worry tends to affect digestion. The connections also lend insight into more complex emotional issues and their impacts, such as anxiety. We have a connection here between elation and worry or overthought. That would be our connection, or a pathology is happening between these two elements. Differences in emotional responses to a similar stimulus can also give us hints to underlying pathologies, such as a response to a sudden increase in work-related stress. If you tend towards a stronger wood area, you may feel more tense, angry, or obsessive over the topic. Maybe you need to be the first one to get it done. Fire or elation tends to have a leaning towards escapism, craving a different experience. Earth, or the worry emotion, tends to feel more exhaustion and sometimes even apathy. Metal, or sorrow, feeling very upset, low, weepy. And lastly, water, or the fear component, the fear of failure, but also feeling crippled in the sense that you cannot move on. Emotions only cause problems when they themselves are unhealthy. When in balance with their respective spirits, they bring about personal virtues and make one more compassionate and resilient to mental stressors. So examples here are anger in the presence of its spirit in healthy balance creates benevolence. Elation in its balance helps you have personal connection or stronger personal connection. Worry keeps your mind active and running, helps you understand the knowledge of possibilities, maybe finding creative solutions. Sorrow helps us mature or adds a precociousness and respect the beauty around us. Fear, understanding the components or the unknown around you, helps build wisdom. Now, once we know what our primary areas of disharmony are, the next step is to change and focus on balancing the physical body, the emotional self, or a combination of the two. Being able to influence those will bring things back into balance. So a simple self-administered intervention. So if you were listening to this video and you identified as the individual where more towards the wood or the anger component seem to be coming up time and time again, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to stretch. The wood element is connected to tendons, which is tonality throughout the body. So if you try and smooth out that tonality and stretch your muscles, you will tend to find ease. Also, any kind of activity helps get rid of the need for action in your system. So it helps burn off that excess need for movement and action in whatever stressor is before you. Elation. So with elation, this would be considered more about overexcitement or losing yourself in excitement. So these individuals need to consciously pace themselves to avoid scattering and remove stimulating foods such as coffee, such as really hot, spicy foods. This will help to settle the system and they can act more appropriately in these scenarios. Worry, so that earth element we talked about in regards to digestion, tends to, there needs to be a lot more focus on being at peace with your thoughts. So meditation comes time and time again. The need to sit and quiet yourself and allow thoughts to come and go, not to grab onto every possibility. Having knowledge of possibilities in that virtue is also the ability to let go of those ones that aren't going to serve you. Another really big thing to consider here as well is the worriers need to avoid sweet foods. Sweet foods tend to overtax the earth element. Sorrow, or the metal element. These individuals need to focus on breath. The metal element corresponds to the lungs, and the best way to manage these emotions is to simply find rhythmic breathing. A great example is the 4, 7, and 8 pattern breathing, where 4 seconds inhalation, 7 hold, and 8 release. Another component to remember is the metal element responds well to fruits of the fall, especially those that are white. So apples and pears are going to be a very big benefit to these individuals also. And lastly, we have fear, or the water element. Now, the water element tends to have a feeling of cold with insecurity. So the best thing one can do is find a warm area, a comfortable area, And from time to time, having warm Epsom salt baths as well will help keep that level of comfort and ward off any feelings of fear. These emotional conditions can also find relief in physical therapies typical to TCM. So try seeing maybe a practitioner of acupuncture, moxibustion, and traditional Chinese medicine herbals in order to find relief in your particular constitution. If you liked what you saw today, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And from myself and all of my colleagues, I'd like to say thank you for watching.